All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to GitOpsCon North America 2025. I will be your host, Christian Hernandez. I am a maintainer of OpenGitOps, OpenGitOps.dev. For those that you don't know, we had a virtual event for GitOpsCon Europe probably late last year. So now we're doing one in North America time zone. We're trying to cover as much of the globe as we can. So thank you for joining me here. So just a few housekeeping items. I will be calling people in and out, right? So as presenters come in and out, don't worry, I'll be able to chaperone you back and forth. And then also, this is a CNCF event, so please act according to the CNCF code of conduct. So with that, a little bit of introduction about OpenGitOps, what OpenGitOps is, what the GitOps working group is, and then I will kick it off and pass it over to our first presenters. So a little history about GitOps and OpenGitOps in general. For those of you who don't know, GitOps was a phrase coined by Alexis Richardson from then Weaveworks as a response to like an incident they had, right? So Weaveworks had an incident. I think all of us have had an incident where we fat fingered a configuration file and we took down a whole region in AWS. He was quite surprised that they got up so very, very fast. They were back online like within 30 minutes, after everything being deleted. And so, I see Kingdon's on. So if I misrepresent anything, let me know. He probably knows more than I. But his SREs explained to him what kind of the practices of what they were doing, right? And he coined the phrase GitOps, right? And so GitOps kind of came on to the scene. Kingdon says I told this story as much times as he has. Came on the scene as a way of managing first your Kubernetes infrastructure, right? So you have a Kubernetes infrastructure that is made up of objects, right? Loosely coupled objects. And GitOps is really a way to manage those loosely coupled objects, right? As a unit. And so taking advantage of the Kubernetes controller of a control loop where things are being watched constantly, right? So this kind of goes over the GitOps principles, right? So for those of you that don't know, if you go to opengitops.dev, and I'll put it in the chat, they are some 4 principles there for GitOps, right? And we came up with those principles as a community. And the story behind that is that GitOps was kind of becoming a marketing term, and we didn't want what happened to cloud is what happened to GitOps, right? If I say cloud, what does that actually mean? Everyone calls everything cloud, right? Someone has a storage array in their home and they call that their cloud, right? Like it's really not really defined, right? Like what is cloud? What is cloud, right? And so for GitOps, we kind of wanted to define what it means to be GitOps, right? And so we came up with those principles, those four GitOps principles. I don't. I wish I had a whole 30 minutes to go over the GitOps principles, but we have a lot to get to. So I'm just going to go over them really quick. Please go to opengitops.dev, and you'll see there that GitOps is defined by first, it needs to be declarative, right? A system managed by GitOps must have its desired state expressed declaratively, right? And so this is kind of like the infrastructure as code. This isn't really anything new. But GitOps builds upon principles that have already been there, right? And so first of all, it's declarative, right? We took infrastructure as code, declarative, that's all fantastic, right? But it needs to be versioned and immutable, right? So what does version and immutable mean, right? So the desired state is stored in a way that enforces immutability, versioning, and retains a complete history, right? This is the Git part. Notice how we never mention Git in GitOps. because there's other things that are compliant, right? Like things like S3, things like OCI. As long as it's version and immutable and retains a complete revision history, it's GitOps compliant, right? And so and Git is probably mostly used in GitOps, which is why we say GitOps, why we have the name Git in GitOps. But that's kind of where the Git comes from, version and immutable, but it doesn't have to be Git, right? And this is pulled automatically, right? So this is kind of where it differentiates itself from practices that people were kind of already doing, right? So software agents automatically pull the desired state declarations from the source, meaning that you're not relying on an event, right? You're not relying on webhooks, right? Using webhooks by themselves isn't GitOps. You will definitely use webhooks in your GitOps workflows, but relying on them and using them only isn't GitOps, right? There needs this other component that acts independently of the webhooks, right? Like you're kind of using them in tandem. And so how do you know you're really using GitOps? Well, if your system keeps running and keeps self-correcting without the need of webhooks, right? And so that's kind of where it starts differentiating itself, right? It's building upon itself. And the fourth principle is really it's continuously reconciled. Software agents continuously observe actual system state and attempt to apply the desired state. And so this is really kind of like where the controllers come in, right? Where things like Flux, where things like Argo CD, those really fall into that principle number 4, that there's a software agent that kind of continuously attempts to apply the desired state. And so I always just kind of equate it to a wall-mounted AC unit, right, air conditioning unit, and a thermostat, right, where the wall-mounted AC unit is your event, right, is an event base, right. I get warm, I stand up, I set it to 70 degrees or 20 degrees, right, for those who are going from Europe. I set it to like 20 degrees. And then I sit down, right? I get cold, I stand up, I turn it off, right? That's kind of like, that's an event base, right? Where GitOps is really like the thermostat, where you set your desired state, right? 70, 72, 74. If you're kind of like me, if you're on the chilly side, you set it to your desired state, and the thermostat is the controller that constantly monitors the ambient temperature and turns off and on as needed. And so that's really the differentiator. That's really the GitOps principles, and that's really kind of where we all came together as a community, both from the Flux side and the Argo side. There was also folks from Red Hat and AWS, Google, GitHub, right? The usual kind of folks that came up with these principles of what it means to manage GitOps, right? Rooted in Kubernetes, right? You're going to hear a lot about Kubernetes, but these principles, we wanted to keep them kind of inclusionary, right? Meaning that you want to be able to apply these principles to things just beyond Kubernetes. And you're going to be hearing some of those stories today. So I think that with that, there's we have a packed agenda here. We have 4 hours here. We'll take breaks here and there when needed. But I would like to invite to the stage first is Kostas from Octopus Deploy, going to be talking about multi-cluster, multi-apps here.